Joining me now on Locked On NBA, one half of maybe my favorite duo on the entire network, including the one that I'm a part of. Locked On Bulls, Matt Peck joining us to talk about some Chicago Bulls. As we were talking about before, the Bulls are just good, Matt.
Yeah, what's up, Nick? If you call 16-8 and a half game behind Brooklyn for the top seed in the East good, then yeah, they're good.
I mean, this team, we were just talking that I expected this team to be, okay, maybe their ceiling is top 4 in the East. Now, there's been some disappointments, right? Miami's been a little disappointment recently with a lot of their injuries and things like that, obviously.
Milwaukee, a lot of early season injuries.
Milwaukee's been like that. The Sixers with the Ben Simmons situation. Even, the Hawks have been a huge disappointment. The Knicks. Like, there's just been a lot of teams that have been disappointing. And there's been a power vacuum, and the Bulls have just somehow filled it. How have they gelled together so quick? They basically, the roster is completely different from even last year, but 2 years ago, it's just a completely different roster besides like Zach LaVine and a couple of pieces. How has this team gelled together so fast and been so successful?
Yeah, I think anybody who was expecting them to gel, like you said, with all like a huge roster overhaul to gel this quickly would be fooling themselves or lying to you. Because I thought that this would be a good Bulls team, but like Billy Donovan said during training camp, it was going to take some time for all these new pieces to figure out how to play together. And you did see some of that early on this season, like Vooch trying to figure out what exactly his role was now that he was not the 1A option he was used to being in Orlando all those years, but now is sort of like option number 3 behind both Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. But I think, there are a few key pieces to what's allowed them to gel so quickly, which is that they're playing incredible defense most nights, and that is led by two also newcomers, Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso, and they have a closer. His name is DeMar DeRozan. Zach LaVine had a lot of pressure to close in late game situations over the last couple of years, and he was facing double teams, he was facing traps, and he was taking difficult shots because there was no one around to help him. DeMar DeRozan, in the 2 wins in New York, the Knicks and the Nets, against the Knicks, 18 of his 34 in the fourth quarter. Against the Brooklyn Nets on Saturday night, 14 of his 29 in the fourth quarter. The dude closes.
Let me tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best NBA daily fantasy prop game on the market. They offer more NBA props than any other daily fantasy prop creator out there. You can go there and get the superstar players as well as bench players to put down some money on. Prize Picks offers any prop that you can imagine. Yardage, touchdowns, even interceptions thrown. You can go pick on Prize Picks. If you're doing this right now, you can go check out the NBA on Monday. Denver Nuggets versus Chicago Bulls. Nikola Jokic, 26.5 points. I think Joker will go off for a little bit more than that. We'll give him the over. If you're going to do Zach LaVine, over under 24.5 points. Maybe Zach LaVine will have a little bit of an off night. So I'm going to do under. Put down $20 on there, I can win 40. You put down $100, I can win 200. And there's all kinds of multipliers and all kinds of things you can put on Prize Picks. So don't hesitate. Check out Prize Picks. Use the promo code NBA or go to your app store and download today. Use the promo code NBA. You'll get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks.com, promo code NBA. Also, want to tell you about DirecTV Stream. This is one of the few ways that I'm able to watch the Dallas Mavericks right now. If you're in the Dallas market, you know that there's so many restrictions, so many other things that you have that are getting in the way of you watching your favorite team. That's probably the case in a lot of your markets as well. Check out DirecTV Stream. You can go check it out right now. See if your team, your local team, is available on DirecTV Stream. It also can help you put everything together in a very simple way. You can get rid of the clutter, stop juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there is no annual contracts with DirecTV Stream. It brings your live TV on-demand favorites together like never before. So you can watch sports, movies, and shows, and hopefully your favorite team all in one place. Get rid of the clutter and the confusion. Get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. DeMar DeRozan has been incredible, and the Bulls are insane when he is on the court this season. They are, I think I just looked it up on Cleaning the Glass. Yeah, plus 8.8 points per 100 possessions, better on outscoring their opponents, which is an incredible rating. What has he done to gel so quick? Is it just that he kind of has all the tools except for the 3-point shot, right? Like I even heard you guys on your show the other day. He's making his shot selection. He's like, well, I missed a bunch of threes. Maybe I should step in and take a long two. Like, is he just putting it all together, or what's he doing that's been different than you've seen in the past?
Well, I think he is accepting his role of being the bucket getter when the Bulls need a bucket, but also I mean, in a very crucial late game scenario against the Nets on Saturday night, he saw a double team, drew a double team, collapsed the defense into the paint, and then kicked a beautiful pass out to Lonzo Ball, who, despite having a really rough shooting stretch in both of these games in New York, he was 2 of 10 from behind the three-point line against the Knicks. I think he was 1 of 6 from 3 thus far in that game against the Brooklyn Nets. But DeMar DeRozan trusted his teammate, and he talked about it after the game. I trust that Lonzo is going to bury that shot. It was a huge shot. Lonzo sank it, pushed the Bulls' lead to 5 with under a minute left, and then that was essentially the dagger that got the Bulls the win. DeMar knows when to pick and choose his spots to get to his spots on the floor, and he knocks down difficult shots, and he's already buying in and trusting his teammates on a nightly basis, because I think DeMar DeRozan sees himself in a lot of these new teammates of his, whether it be Lonzo Ball or Zach LaVine, guys who have not really had a chance to win yet in the NBA, guys who are overlooked or underrated or underappreciated. This is a team full of guys with chips on their shoulders. Alex Caruso not getting the offer that he wanted to stay with the Lakers. There are chips on shoulders everywhere. DeMar has certainly a big one, and he trusts his new teammates every night.
It's been awesome to see DeMar DeRozan step into that role and honestly just be like relevant again, for DeMar DeRozan. Like, I guess that was a shot at San Antonio, but
but after the Tony and Manu and Park and Tim Duncan year, like San Antonio, that's where people's careers are going to die or are almost dead.
Shout out to Thad. Shout out to Thad Young right now. Shout out to Thad Young right now. He's just wallowing away. Right. Absolutely. And those two have been, LaVine and DeRozan have been really good together. What have they been able to do to gel so quickly, those two guys, and playing the mano a mano? It felt like some people thought there may be some, whose team is it, right? Play that whole game, the Westbrook Durant game we used to play all the time. But
right.
How have those two guys gelled together and been able to play together?
I think you're still seeing them work out a couple of kinks occasionally with the Bulls. When they get into ruts in their offense, it's because either Zach or DeMar will be over dribbling, and it's sort of like a your turn, my turn kind of situation that never really works out super well in the NBA. But I think that they're already forming a strong bond off the court, and the people who thought, Zach and DeMar aren't going to work together because they do the same stuff offensively, like, I don't know what they were looking at, because Zach, yes, he can knock down mid-range shots and get to spots on the floor that he likes in the mid-range, but he is a lethal threat behind the three-point line. He has perfected that step-back three. He had a big step-back three in the fourth quarter against Brooklyn, and he slashes to the rim, and he's finally starting to get some of that respect from NBA officials with the All-Star tag next to his name. He attacked the basket for some free throws and a difficult up-and-under layup late in that game against Brooklyn. So they're both capable of getting to the free throw line. But, outside of that, where DeMar likes to operate in and around that free throw line area, knocking down his mid-range shots. And Zach is lethal from the perimeter. So they actually complement each other really well.
The offensive thing I never understood. Like, people said, they can't work together because of this. There's just one ball and all that. Those guys have both been – DeRozan has really become, over the last 4 or 5 years, a really good playmaker. His assist numbers have gone from the beginning of his career was like 0.1 or 0.5 or something like that a game to 6, 5, 4 a game.
Nearly 7 assists per game with the Spurs last season.
Yeah, he's absolutely been he's added that to his game. LaVine's always been a pretty decent distributor and all that, but they're willing passers. It was the defensive end that I think a lot of us were concerned about, and that's where I want to go to next. You mentioned Lonzo and Caruso. Those two additions have been massive, but how is this team, like this Bulls team is a top 10 defense. We're not even just saying a passable defense in the NBA. They've been really, really good. How have they turned that into a strength of this team?
Well, I think there are a few factors there because, not only that, but a lot of people would point to they're undersized. How are they a top 10 defense with some of these, net negative defenders and such a lack of size? They make up for a lack of size with length. Everywhere you look up and down Billy Donovan's rotation, starters, bench unit, there is length and length and length. There's a lot of switchability and a lot of versatility. And you got Caruso or Javonte Green, guys who are 6'4", 6'5", guarding power forwards every night and doing a pretty respectable job doing so. And that Caruso and Lonzo are defensive aces. And when it comes to guys like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, who have never necessarily been known for their defense, we saw Zach LaVine really accept and embrace that role for Team USA, which had plenty of scorers at the Olympics. And they said, we don't necessarily need your scoring, Zach. We need you to bring the effort on defense every night. He embraced that and brought it in to this fresh Bulls season. And he and DeMar have both said things along the lines of, hey, when you see the kind of effort that Caruso or Lonzo put into every single defensive possession, it makes you feel like you have to bring your A game and buy in. So even those guys, Zach and DeMar, they're doing a better job calling out switches. They're doing a better job fighting over screens. They're both getting their hands in passing lanes. Zach LaVine had an incredible steal where he was fighting his way over a screen and turned it into an easy two at the other end the other night. Even though they might not be, defensive geniuses, even just putting forth effort in NBA when it comes to defense makes a world of difference, and they're holding their own on a pretty strong defensive squad.
It's one of those things where if you're in a group project and one person is doing a lot of work, like one person's really trying,
right,
then maybe you'll just sit back and say, it's okay, just one person. But if two people are working hard, then the rest of them are like, okay, well, maybe I have to step it up and I actually have to try on this because more than one person is doing some of this work. It feels like that's what it's like for the Bulls on defense.
And like one thing in particular I've noticed, Zach LaVine at times in recent years, when he gets frustrated on the offensive end because he misses a shot or he doesn't get a call that he thinks he drew contact on, it would let him affect his effort on defense, where he wouldn't get back or he would
who would do that?
Right? Maybe Luke is guilty of that once in a while too. But like the other night against the Knicks, Alex Caruso had a couple of really like boneheaded plays on the offensive end, like a bad turnover. But then Alex Caruso will make up for that by hustling back on defense and making a big play. Lonzo Ball does the same thing. He was having a horrible shooting night against the Knicks, but he kept getting back and making big game-changing, momentum-changing plays on the defensive end. And so they have taught Zach LaVine, hey, if things aren't going your way on the offensive end, don't let it affect your defense, because you can put that effort into your defense and get the game script back in your favor.
Must be nice. Must be nice to have a team that works together like that. Last thing, quickly, can you just tell me, we haven't seen a lot of Coby White this season, and now he tested positive and he's going to be out. Javonte Green as well. What's the latest on them? When can we expect them back? And also, what do you think Coby White's role is on this team?
It's hard to see. And then again, in Kobe's absence, you see some pretty strong games and efforts from the rookie Ayo Dosunmu. And that's why a lot of people are talking about whether or not Coby White might be an expendable piece to dangle before the trade deadline. I personally thought that the Bulls should, and Billy Donovan should, give him a little bit more of a run, a little bit more time to find his role. You know that Coby White can, catch fire from behind the 3-point line. Beyond that, like there's not a whole lot there that I'm seeing right now from Coby. But keep in mind, this guy was out for 6 months. He had shoulder surgery. You shouldn't expect him to look like himself quite yet. So when he did come back from the injury and before COVID, Billy did get him back in that rotation. He had a couple of good games. I'm very curious to see how Billy handles that as we get closer to that trade deadline, though, because the Bulls could use some depth in that front court.
Absolutely. Go follow Locked On Bulls on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. An absolutely great show with Matt Peck and Big Dave Watson. Just great stuff over there. Thanks so much, Matt.
Thanks, Nick.